And to all the elected officials who stand behind me, thank you. Thank you for your dedication to making Illinois a great place to start a business. Already, businesses have made our state a leader in the data center market simply on the basis of our own merits. The Chicagoland area offers the third largest data center capacity in the entire United States because Illinois has it all. Our state sits at the convergence of the nation's fiber optic network. We offer low natural disaster risk, a strong labor force, top-notch utility reliability performance, and a competitive power market, including options for renewables. That's a great start. But what our state hasn't done until now is have a vision for how to stay a leader into the future. Illinois stood by as the majority of other states created tax incentives to encourage data centers to put down roots in their states, bringing in thousands of jobs and billions in economic output. And in turn, we saw the Chicago region's growth drop compared to other major markets, and watched our whole state underperform nationwide trends. Our neighbors have already learned this lesson. Iowa offered tax incentives for data center construction, and in return, Apple invested in Iowa, a $1.3 billion data center project that creates local jobs, runs on entirely renewable energy, and invests $100 million in the local economy. With everything that Illinois has to offer, a dedicated workforce, low energy rates, our location at the heart of the United States, there's no reason that we should not only meet the national trend toward data center growth, but lead it. As the world is increasingly online, global IP traffic continues to surge. The number of devices connected to networks will, by some estimates, surpass the global population 3 times over by 2022. The technologies we use every day, computers, smartphones, GPS, require data centers and the functions of data centers, not to mention the needs to get every business in every industry online. In today's world, data centers are as critical a part of our infrastructure as our roads, our rail, and our schools. That's a bipartisan understanding shared by business and by labor groups alike. And with this legislation, we are welcoming a surge of economic development, labor income, and good union jobs to Illinois. And not just here in the established market of Chicago, but across our entire state. I'm proud to say that our team at the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity has already seen an uptick in interest from data center companies since we passed this measure, and we expect more to come. I've said before that an important part of my job is to transform our state into one of the most forward-thinking, economically prosperous, and innovative in the nation. This law is a prime example from a legislative session filled with bipartisan measures to make Illinois work for everyone. We passed a bipartisan, truly balanced budget for the first time in a very long time, and the rating agencies are beginning to recognize that. And that, in turn, lowers our state's cost of borrowing. We cut taxes on 300,000 Illinois businesses, mostly small businesses. Overall, we cut taxes on businesses by more than $250 million. We created tax incentives for building new factories and warehouses and business facilities in Illinois, as well as new tax credits for research and development, extending that tax credit, and a new tax credit for apprenticeships. We're making the largest transportation and infrastructure investments in state history, collectively projected to create over 500,000 jobs across our state. We're prioritizing our state's workforce training dollars toward our state's fastest growing industries. And we're expanding high-speed broadband internet access to communities all across Illinois. In these ways, and in so many more, my administration has demonstrated our commitment, working with the legislature, to an Illinois where both our businesses and our working families can thrive. And today we mark yet another way in which Illinois is back and we're ready to do business. Thank you. Thank you to all who stand behind me, to the members of the legislature, to all of you who have pushed for us to put this law into place. And now I'd like to introduce Senator Sims, who plays such an important role in the General Assembly in creating new jobs, in expanding opportunity to communities that have been left out and left behind, and I want to thank him for helping to build an Illinois economy that works for everyone. Senator Sims. So happy to take any questions. Before I get to that, though, I just had forgotten to acknowledge someone who was quite important in this process, and that's my deputy governor, our former comptroller, Dan Hines, who's hiding behind the cameras.
Today is truly a great day. The only thing that would have made it better would be if we were celebrating a Bears win in addition to the data center law. As the governor mentioned, my name is L.G. Sims. I have the honor and privilege of representing the 17th District in the Illinois Senate. Today, we are talking about having a forward-thinking policy, an aggressive policy about where we're going to go in our state. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, technology jobs will increase by 26% between now and 2028, making them one of the largest growing segments of our economy. That's why today is such a great day, and this data center incentive is so vitally important to our economy. So also not only for the economy we have, but for the economy that we are creating. First, let me thank Governor Pritzker for having the vision and foresight to continue making the statement that Illinois is open for business. Let me also thank the leadership of the Illinois and Chicagoland Chambers of Commerce for coming together to make the case that this incentive was vitally important to maintain and enhance Illinois' position at the cutting edge of the data center industry. But I would be remiss if I did not thank the men and women of organized labor for joining together in this effort, because they understand that in order to make Illinois strong, labor and business must work together. The fact that both labor and business were willing to come to the table and band together made it possible for us to be here celebrating this momentous occasion here today. When we started talking about this industry, and we talked about the economic impact that this industry has, in 2017 alone, approximately 31,000 jobs here in Illinois, $122 million in construction expenditures, $2.4 billion in labor income, $7 billion in economic output, $877 million in tax revenue, including over $300 million in state and local tax revenues. When you couple those statistics with the fact that states, Indiana was specifically targeting the Chicagoland market. As the governor mentioned, Iowa had put in an incentive where we had already lost one data center. We were in jeopardy of being out of the running for others. We had to do something. Now, I could discuss the economic realities of what this new incentive will mean for our state. Focus on creating a future-focused economy, the ability to maximize our state's status as a hub for the burgeoning tech industry, or the specific elements of the bill that you have to qualify for the incentive. It must be located in Illinois, create at least 20 new jobs over a 60-month period, be carbon neutral, and make $250 million in capital investments. But more importantly for me are two other elements I'd like to talk about. The first, the fact that in order for a contractor to get the incentive, they must enter into a project labor agreement. Now, that project labor agreement must be utilized by the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. That demonstrates that there is a partnership between this administration and business. We want to make sure that we are establishing an economy that works for everyone, that we are going to have labor peace in this state. The second element I'd like to talk about is the incentive that provides for enhanced incentives if you locate in areas of high unemployment or disinvestment. That says to me that we were not going to turn our back on the least of these. We want to make sure that everyone has a part in our growing economy. There was a recent story in the news that talked about the loss of African American population in the Chicagoland region, but mainly middle-class families. If we are going to continue to be the state that we all know we are, we're going to have to invest in ensuring that our economy works for everyone. Now, like all of you, I am so happy and proud here today. I am proud of what we've done. I am proud of what we are continuing to do. We are making a statement that there is a new day in Illinois. And that's why I'm glad and honored to stand here with Governor Pritzker, with my colleagues, Leader Harmon, who was one of the champions in the Senate along with me, helping to quarterback this legislation through the Senate, Senator Murphy, who also helped support and lead the charge to lead this bill through the Illinois Senate. I can't thank you both enough for your friendship, your leadership, and your assistance. But also, to get this over the goal line, this had to be done in a bipartisan way. That's why it is my honor and privilege to bring to the podium and thank my former colleague, the leader of the Illinois House Republicans, Leader Jim Durkin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Sims, and it's an honor for me to be here with a few of my colleagues. To my left is Tom Demmer, one of my deputy leaders, and also in the back, Representative Keith Wheeler, who just came in also. They're both outstanding members who know a little bit more about digital things and things that I have no clue about because I'm in the wrong generation. But in any event, as the governor said, this was an important session for us. And at the end, things were a little chaotic, but it was important that Republicans were working with the Democrats on finishing up this budget, but also it was extremely important that Republicans had their voices heard. We listed a number of issues that were important for us, which were pro-business matters and also pro-business incentives. And this is one of them that we felt was extremely important for us, for our participation in this budget. So Governor, congratulations, and let's do more of this, okay? Thank you. Data center development has become increasingly popular and crucial in the business community, not only in Chicago and Illinois, but all over the nation. From the relentless growth of data and cloud computing, social media, e-commerce, and the advancement of 5G network, cellular networks, large and small businesses need access to many cloud providers, which means co-location servers and network gear in these third-party data centers. Our new law that became part of this really a historic finish to this legislative session keeps us competitive in this burgeoning area of commerce. So, like I said, let's do more of this. We have a path forward in how we can work together as Republicans and Democrats at a time where the state needs bipartisan leadership and a bipartisan solution to our problems. So, Governor, thank you again for your leadership on this, and also everyone behind me and everybody here who's in front of me who made this happen. So I would like to now pass the mic over to Deputy Leader Tom Demmer, who is our chief negotiator on budget, but also was instrumental in negotiating the solution, the final package on the data center bill for the governor. So Tom, if you can come up.
Well, thank you very much, Leader Durkin, Governor Pritzker, and all my colleagues up here. This is a very exciting day for all of us. As we were working through the legislative process this year, I kept hoping we'd have an opportunity to celebrate the data center bill being enacted. At various points, it looked more likely or less likely, sort of depending on the tides, but we're here today, and that's a really positive thing. I'm Tom Demmer. I represent a district that's about 2 hours west of here, live in Dixon, and have a corridor along Interstate 88 and 39. What I think really speaks volumes about this bill is that it empowers opportunities for communities all across the state of Illinois. You know, here in Chicago, a data center might look like this, in a historic, beautiful building that's centrally located in the heart of a bustling urban center. In a district like mine, though, it looks like an open piece of land ready for development in an industrial park. In the suburbs, it might look like something that fits in with, you know, development that's happened in a neighborhood or in an industrial retail area around it. The great thing about this bill is that no matter where you are in the state, there's an opportunity now to be able to pursue these kinds of partnerships. This happened because of partnerships as well. You know, we had both Republicans and Democrats business and labor. We had the tech companies who offer these services and the businesses of all different industries who use these services asking what can we do to better support this kind of future-friendly development all across the state of Illinois. The other important thing, I think, is what message this sends. Not just the message to businesses that, Illinois is open and welcoming of the investments that you can make in our communities, but also the message that this sends to local government. Today, I'm joined by the city manager of the city of DeKalb, Bill Nicholas, from my district, who's here because the city of DeKalb heard this message and said, all right, we have another tool now. We have another item that we can go out to businesses to try to attract new development, and that's happening all across the state. So I think the best policies can come when we say what can be applicable all across the state, no matter what kind of neighborhood or county you find yourselves in, and what can we do to send a message to both business and to local government that we're giving you the tools, that we're giving new resources, and that we want to promote and expand development of future-friendly jobs all across the state. This is a great day to be able to celebrate this, to be able to get together with many of the stakeholders who made this possible. I appreciate the leadership of Governor Pritzker and Democrats both in the House and the Senate, as well as my colleagues on the Republican side in both chambers. This really took everybody standing together, and I think when that happens, you see better policy as a result of that. Thank you very much.
So happy to take any questions from members of the media.
There's some young people who are going to meet the administration later today in the city regarding climate and the environment. And one thing that they're calling on you and the legislature behind you to address is the Clean Energy Jobs Act, which has been filed with the legislature. Wondering if that's something that your administration is looking at going into the fall meeting session or next spring.
It certainly is something that's being considered as part of a broader energy package. I don't know that we'll be able to get to it during the veto session. It is, many of the goals of focusing on renewables, for example, are very important to me. As you know, when I came in office, I signed an executive order, I initiated and signed an executive order to have Illinois join the U.S. Climate Alliance to meet the Paris Climate Accords goals. And we also have obligations under the law today to increase renewables in our state. We only have about 7% of our power being generated by wind and less than 1% by solar. We can do so much better, and we need to continue that drive toward renewables and toward clean energy policies. So what they're demonstrating for is something that I believe in, and we need to look at it in the grand context of what is energy going to look like, energy production going to look like in our state over the next 5 and 10 years. John. Well, actually, I'm going to let the sponsors answer the question, but we are, as I say, we're open for business. So we are talking to all of them. There's a $250 million threshold, but I'm going to let Representative Leader Demmer.
$250 million is a high threshold, but it's not that high in the context of data center investments. The governor cited an over $1 billion data center investment that's in the state of Iowa now. So while it's a high threshold, it's also reflective of the capital-intensive nature of the data center business, and that many projects of substantial size will easily clear the $250 million hurdle.
It might be worth, I don't know if you're interested in answering the question for the press, but you don't have to. But, okay. but the folks who are in the business may have something to say about it. Yeah.
For us at Digital Realty, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to host you here today. And as the governor said and the elected officials behind me have all said, this is a capital-intensive business. And as we make investments into the future, we look at, in terms of billions of dollars investments over the period of time that we, Digital Realty, have been in the state of Illinois. We've had over $3 billion of investments, in capital investments into building the infrastructure here. With that comes the technology behind it, which has a higher dollar value. So those thresholds of $250 million is not as big of a hurdle as you might think. And as we look in our future builds here, that hurdle we believe will be able to continue to achieve above that. So thank you for the question.
Got one more for the senators in the room. Do the three of you
I'm Laura Murphy, represent the 28th District, and, you know, I think the governor's quotes the other day in the paper were something that I, too, believe in that it's a really difficult time. But during the investigation, I think that Senator Sandoval should step down from his chair of transportation.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.